Welcome to Parkinson's disease in southern New Hampshire. This short video series aims to educate people with Parkinson's disease and their caregivers about resources that are available within southern New Hampshire. Each of these resources we highlight present unique opportunities, and we hope to spread awareness, showing that involvement or enrollment in any of these programs may increase the quality of life for someone living with Parkinson's disease. We ask that you please take a moment to answer a brief questionnaire before and after viewing our videos in order for us to assess the effectiveness of this series. Please enjoy.
Hi, my name is Carolina Kozlova. I am a physical therapist who works within the field of neurology, primarily in an outpatient neuro setting. So once somebody transitions from the hospital setting to home, that's when they'll come see me.
What is Parkinson's disease and what are the symptoms?
So Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder that occurs deep within the brain, an area called the basal ganglia. So that area controls movement, and so what happens with Parkinson's is that there is a loss of a neurotransmitter within that area called dopamine, and with the loss, the gradual loss, movements of a person will start declining, and so the fluidity of movement is very difficult for someone with Parkinson's. In terms of the hallmark signs that you will see is that slowness of movement. It's called bradykinesia. So inability to move quickly, and it doesn't necessarily mean walking, but even standing up. You're going to have stiff muscles, something called a resting tremor. So at rest, your hands will involuntarily shake. Also, you might have a shuffling pattern because of that decreased dopamine. The ability to walk very fluidly is gone. And also there is something called episodic freezing. So when you transition between rooms or different surfaces, your body might involuntarily freeze.
What are your experiences working with people with Parkinson's, and how does physical therapy help them?
So I primarily see patients once they've been diagnosed with Parkinson's and they're living at home, but they need help with movement. And so I will typically work with patients who have difficulty transitioning from either laying in bed and sitting up in bed, standing up, walking. They'll come in saying that they have very slow speed and they can't keep up with their spouse or their family members, and they want to improve that. So we work on amplifying all of those movements and pretty much kind of tricking the brain into thinking that they are walking normally, and by doing that they seem normal to their counterparts. And once you engage in this type of therapy, the results in terms of research are very good out there, but you have to keep going once you're done with therapy. So what we do is as therapists, we give the tools needed to help function better, and teach you tricks of the trade. Things like external cues, so sometimes music or different cues that you can put out throughout your house to help you with movement.
Hi, my name is Willow Henry. I'm a physical therapist and I'm an LSVT certified clinician. LSVT certification is available to physical therapists and occupational therapists throughout the United States and internationally. So patients with Parkinson's disease can access a certified clinician anywhere in the United States or internationally.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the program in terms of time and cost?
Sure. So, well, first of all, LSVT BIG it stands for Lee Silverman Voice Training, and the BIG is not an acronym. The focus of the program is to have the patients moving big, thinking big. And so the program takes about 4 weeks. The patients are asked to participate for about an hour, 4 days a week, for 4 weeks for a total of about 16 sessions. As far as the cost associated with the program, it really is dependent on insurance coverage. So insurance does cover LSVT treatment, and so if the patients are covered under a plan, typically the only cost associated would be if the patient had a copay.
Is there any medical clearance required?
Not typically. So in general, we recommend that a patient be seeking regular medical appointments with their primary care physician. No additional specific clearance is required. If during our initial physical therapy or occupational therapy evaluation we note something that might need some additional follow-up with the physician, we would just do that before initiating the treatment after our initial evaluations.
How has COVID-19 impacted your program?
So in general, LSVT has been impacted by COVID. It is an outpatient or inpatient treatment, and a lot of outpatient clinics have either furloughed or laid off employees. They're starting to come back now, but COVID has impacted access to LSVT certified clinicians either on an inpatient or outpatient basis.
And what types of safety measures should they expect?
So just like any other treatment in a healthcare setting, the therapists are wearing personal protective equipment, and the same equipment is recommended for the patients to be wearing as well. So we're trying to reduce the overall likelihood that a patient could be exposed or contract COVID.
What are the goals of the program?
The goals of the program are really to retrain a patient with Parkinson's disease to learn how to normalize their movement patterns, to think big and to move big. Parkinson's disease typically affects a patient in a negative way by kind of closing down their movements and making them very small. So LSVT is a program to have the patient relearn how to think big and then move big in order to normalize their function.
How does the program benefit those with Parkinson's disease? What results should they expect?
So what's really nice about the LSVT program is that wherever you are in your Parkinson's diagnosis, you have the ability to make improvement with this intervention. So I've had patients that have been nearly bedbound or using a wheelchair primarily be able to make improvements, all the way up the spectrum to patients who have very minimal impact. The treatment is neuroprotective, and so it can also kind of reduce the progression of the disease and kind of help the patient not decline as quickly as they would without the intervention.
How should interested participants get involved with the program?
So the website for LSVT is lsvtglobal.com, and from the main page there is a button in the upper right hand corner, and it says find a certified clinician. So if they just click on that link, it will assist patients to find a certified clinician within a certain radius of their home, and the patients are able to click on what that radius, what would be the most helpful for them to be able to access.
Sounds good.
So could you tell us a little bit about your program, including like the name and maybe the mission? Okay, so our organisation is called the Parkinson's Foundation of the National Capital Area, and it's been an organisation that's been going for about 25 years with a mission aim of trying to improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's. So that was kind of the original thing. And now what it's grown to over the last 25 years is that we now have in over 30 venues 170 odd classes a week, in-person classes, and so not a week, a month, beg your pardon. And we turned our program onto Zoom, and we now have 33 classes a week on Zoom for all our participants available to them if they want to take them. And so we have 389 people regularly participating on the Zoom classes. Those classes are a mixture of exercise classes, which could be cardio or just ordinary exercise, or it could be yoga, or it could be dance, or it could be boxing, okay, and also some communication classes, because as you may be aware, one of the big issues sometimes with Parkinson's patients is that their voice gets very weak. And so we do a lot of communication classes as well. Like some of the communication classes, what they will do, I've got a wonderful woman that does them, and she'll do the kind of voice exercises to start with, but then she will go on to talk about current affairs, or did you see so-and-so on the TV last night, and try to get them engaged in talking about their own experiences. So not just kind of the coaching part of the voice, but also kind of engage their brains and then get a dialogue going between members of the group about particular things. And I think that's really important as well.
What would you say kind of are the overall goals of your program?
Okay, so we hope to enable people to live well with Parkinson's, and that's really what it's about. When people first get a diagnosis of Parkinson's, sometimes it's a shock, and sometimes it really can knock them back and be very depressing. And we were trying to say, well, look, you can still socialize, you can still enjoy yourself, you can still live a really good and active life, as long as you help yourself, if you like. And so we have three main goals that we would have. One is education, which I've explained a little bit about. So apart from the symposium, we also do 4 education lectures a year, which we call Parkinson Pointers. So that's part of it, letting people know what the research is, what the kind of drugs are, what kind of treatments might be there. And also our recent one we did was trying to be inspirational and showing other people who have done a lot of exercise and really have improved the quality of their life. I mean, the one we did last week was called Victory Swim. I don't know if you've seen that video, but it's a totally inspirational video, and it's, you know, it just encourages people to think, you know, I could be that person. I could do this exercise and look better than I've ever looked before. And I've still got Parkinson's, but actually it doesn't really matter, because I'm doing everything I can to maintain my cognitive ability and also my physical ability, which tend to go hand in hand.
How would you say like that this program benefits people with Parkinson's disease?
Okay, one of the things it definitely does, and which can be something which Parkinson's patients tend to have, is that they don't like to do novel things or new things. But if you can get them out to socialize with other people, then they tend to be more likely to go out for a coffee or go for a meal with somebody, you know, and particularly for those who are living alone, of which, you know, many of them are. It's really important to socialize, because that keeps their well-being really positive, that they are not fighting this debilitating and, say, progressive disease alone. And I think that the other thing is that every single person living with Parkinson's is experiencing a different subset of the possible symptoms that Parkinson's has, but they are all common in that they can all benefit from exercise, from socializing, from understanding more about their disease and being proactive to make sure they're getting the best medical help, you know, making sure that they have a movement disorder specialist rather than just a neurologist. Those kinds of things which perhaps some people don't know when they first get their diagnosis.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And then just the final question is, how do people who are interested in your program get involved?
Okay, so as I say, we have a website, pfnca.org, and I think that a lot of people have, particularly since the pandemic, and people have been looking for stuff, they've been finding it through Google, which has really been amazing. So although originally we are meant to be, national capital area, we call it the DMV, just that bit around Washington, DC, surrounded by areas of Maryland and Virginia. That's really our home territory, if you like, and that's where our in-person classes are. But our symposium runs in Delaware as well, and what we have found is that some of those new members that I've spoken about, 10% improvement in our numbers, many of them have come from all over. So we have people from Massachusetts, we have people from Florida, we have people from California, we have people from many of the states in between. So because now using Zoom as a vehicle, it's been something that's been it's really opened everybody up to the possibility of using our exercise program. And because we spent such a long time developing it, we have fantastic instructors who really understand the needs of people with Parkinson's and trying to get them to absolutely do the best they can. So we're really based in the science of what improves the lives of people with Parkinson's. And I think we will, as the world changes again, we will carry on with some Zoom classes going forward. It won't be perhaps 33 a week, it might be 20 a week, but we will obviously have some Zoom classes going forward, particularly those things which are a bit more unique, like the boxing or the dance, where you might not be able to get to one of those classes because they run in a particular gym or a particular studio. So having those online, again, opens up the variety of genres of exercise, and people trying to find something which works for them, I think is really important. And we're not trying to replace the PTs of this world. We're trying to offer a complementary service, which, as I say, largely is based in education and wellness, as well as the actual exercises and voice coaching and things themselves.
Definitely.
It is called Parkinson's Dance Class. My training is through Dance for PD, which is a New York organization. My training was in May of 2018. It took me a year to get into the training. They waitlisted me the first year, and then I reapplied the next year and got in. The training is pretty extensive. They don't want medical professionals. They want dancers or dance professionals. So my background is as a ballet dancer. So that's what it takes a while to get in, and they are highly regarded as far as their program goes. So I took the initial training in May, and I started the class in September. It meets every Tuesday at the Wellness Center at Catholic Medical Center from 1 to 2:15. Fully supported by Catholic Medical Center, which has been a great bonus for us. It runs right now. It is not running. I know that's your next question, but it runs every week. The only time that we are not there is if it's a holiday. The cost per class is $5. I will tell people that if $5 is not within their budget, that they just need to talk to me, because I would never want to preclude someone because they were unable to afford it. It is not done in sessions, because with this particular patient population, they can have a bad week. So they never prepay, or they never pay for a class that they don't go to. So they can pay when they come, or they can prepay me and I keep a dance card and I just mark it off when they come. It's open to all participants, their family members, their friends. A lot of my people don't drive. So if someone drives them, they're welcome to take the class. Anyone that comes with them is free.
So how does this program benefit those with Parkinson's disease?
And again, because they want dancers and dance professionals, it uses the training that a dancer or a dance teacher or a dance professional has to use mind, body, emotion, and movement. So the dance classes are not therapy, they're not exercise. We never talk about Parkinson's. They are dancing just for the sake of dancing. So it works on coordination, it works on initiation of movement, it works on balance and mobility and flexibility and all the things that are so very important to our people with Parkinson's, but it does it in such a way that it is not it's almost distracting because you're thinking about dancing, you're thinking about the choreography. It uses a lot of short-term memory to work on choreography. So you get all the benefits without even realizing what it is that you're doing. Because the concentration is trying to do the steps or trying to follow the music or trying to stay on beat, you know, in the tempo with the music. It uses a part of the brain that is not so dopamine dependent. As the human beings, we're musical beings. We respond to music very naturally, so it can help to stimulate another part of the brain. Any kind of exercise, as you well know, can be protective for people with Parkinson's because it can stimulate the dopamine, the cells that are still activated. So any kind of exercise is good, but that deals particularly with movement, because this is a degenerative movement disorder, is that much more beneficial. And I think that it has to do with the musical part of it, which makes it different than other exercise classes.
How do interested participants get involved with the program?
It is on the CMC website under classes.
Okay.
It's CMC. It has a quarterly newsletter called Healthy Living News, and it's always in there. Our neurologists, our area neurologists all know about it. They all have my flyers. I am a PTA. I work at Catholic Medical Center Outpatient Rehab. I would say the vast majority of my participants are prior patients. And Dance for PD also has a listing for trained teachers. So if they know about the program and are looking for a local class, it's there. So it's word of mouth. Again, a lot of them come through the clinic as a patient. When it restarts, anybody is welcome to come and watch because it is so much fun and it's such an amazing program.
So could you tell me a little bit about yourself and then like the program that you run?
Sure. I'm an occupational therapist by training, and I have mostly experience in home health care last 11 years before I took this position, and I've been the director of the program for 1.5 years. So as the director of this program, I oversee all of our Parkinson's programming, which includes a few different pieces. The first is Trembleclef's Chorus, and that's actually the first program that's been in existence in New England since 2009. Our whole program started in 2007, so it's one of the first sort of wellness programs, I would say, in the community setting. So we have a Trembleclef's Chorus, and then we also have a dance program, Dance for Parkinson's. Support groups, so we have 2 support groups for care partners in our Waltham office, and then another one that occurs on the North Shore of Massachusetts. It's in an area called Peabody. And then we have a quarterly education group. So that's, a quarterly speaker on a topic related to Parkinson's that anyone can join. We recently started an adult-child support group. So people who have a parent with Parkinson's. And then I guess the last component is just information referrals. So sometimes we get people who call our program looking for any number of things. Could be a neurologist or a physical therapist, or just have a question about Parkinson's, and we do our best to answer it expertly.
And how has COVID-19 impacted your program?
Oh, there's no change. No, I'm kidding. Well, as you can imagine, March 13th, I think, was probably the last day we were in our office. So I've been working remotely. We've all been working remotely, and we've changed all of our programs to a Zoom, video conferencing format. And it's actually given us an opportunity with the adult child to start that group, because there was some, we talked about it for a while, but there was a question of how would we actually make it work with that population, many of whom are working and have families, and a lot of conflicts. We didn't know how we could get them all together and what time we could do that. But now that everyone has been home, it's been a lot easier to get them together on a Zoom format and really start that off with a bang.
What would you say like the goals of your programs are?
So we specialize in helping families live as fully as possible with the many challenges of Parkinson's. arts-based therapeutic activities is kind of our signature, format, but also education, resources, and a supportive community for people with Parkinson's and their families. The interesting thing about Jewish Family and Children's Services, it's a community organization with many different aspects, and so we're able to provide sort of what we would call surround care, where if someone is having difficulty with, say, living alone or where they're living, we can refer them to a care manager, for example, who might need to help them transition to assisted living, or finding someone else to provide care in the home and things like that. So we have a few other services for older adults that dovetail nicely into our programs that we can provide help in the community to help them live the fullest life possible.
Awesome. You kind of touched with this on the last part, but could you kind of elaborate on how this specifically benefits patients with Parkinson's?
Yeah. So it's been interesting. I think the current situation with insurance and whatnot. If people are seeing a decline in their status, they go to physical therapy or they see their doctor and they get a limited amount of treatment and then it ends. And oftentimes, with this population, it's something that needs to happen continuously. And for a lot of people, it's hard to be motivated to do that on their own. But for those who are able to come to our programs, it gives them an opportunity to weekly, stay active and socialize, because being, immobile or, isolated are two of the worst things with Parkinson's. So it really allows them to stay engaged.
And then how do interested participants get involved with your program?
How do they get referred?
Yeah, referred, or how does someone sign up for it as well?
Yeah. So, our referrals, come from a lot of different places. We have a website, of course, so some people just find it through a Google search or whatnot. We also have a listing on the APDA Massachusetts chapter website, and various listings through the Parkinson's Foundation. So those are sort of our major partners. Certainly we have other partners like Beth Israel, Deaconess Hospital, and not formally, but good working relationships with them. So we sometimes get referrals from them, or the Jewish Community Centers of Greater Boston, the JCC. And then it's just through other relationships we've established with physical therapists, doctors, social workers in the community who know about our programs and make referrals. But I would say the number one referral source is actually word of mouth. We've had more than one person referred to our Care Partner Support Group through a hair salon visit interaction. So, yeah.
That's cool. I feel like you're doing something right, obviously, if people keep telling their friends and then getting more people to refer. So that's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome. What do you see the future? Do you think you're going to continue the Zoom meetings, or do you think you will go to in-person, safe to do so?
That's a great question. I think, for our dance program, I was just listening to a meeting around that, and so much of the dance is really a human interaction. We end with what they call passing of the pulse. Everyone's hands are gripped, and you kind of, squeeze one person's hand and pass it around the room. We do dances together. And so there's really a meaningful human interaction with that. And obviously it's just not safe right now. And certainly singing is probably the least safe of our activities right now. So, while we certainly miss being in person, we have to, prioritize safety. So I think for the foreseeable future, we'll still be online, but, potentially we, when it is safe to return, there might be a possibility for some sort of hybrid model to continue to allow those with mobility or transportation challenges to still be engaged in some way. But if anyone is interested in our programs, we just ask that they, contact us. We do just sort of a quick screen to make sure they're, they would be safe and appropriate for the activities, and then we'll, send out invitations and whatnot. So.
Oh, I know you did LSVT. Can you tell us a little about how that helped you with your diagnosis?
I have to tell you that I've been in PT off and on for the last 20 years for various and sundry things, some small, some big. And it's one of the best experiences I've had in my health journey. That was one of the first things that she had recommended. So with the carbidopa levodopa, basically two things: carbidopa levodopa LSVT Big. She wanted to get me one of those programs right away. And but anyway, Jeremy. His first name was Jeremy. I can't remember the last name.
That's okay.
But he worked with me. He watched me. He worked me hard. He mirrored what I was doing. If I was doing something not quite perfectly, it needed to be perfect. When we would count things out, he wanted me to shout loud, wanted me to stomp my feet. He was terrific. And he said you had to do it twice a day. And he said if you do it twice a day and you're religious about it, he said you can kind of steady the decline. And so, I mean, that sounded like something I wanted to do.
So this leads into my next question. Is there anything else you're doing to manage your symptoms or keep up with this?
Yes. One of the things I started doing late last fall at the Y, I belong to the Merrimack Y and the Nashville Y, same thing. But the Merrimack Y, I found out there was a Parkinson's class. It's a spin class. So I was doing that. That was twice. They had 20 people in that class, doing it twice a week. COVID shut it down. But I found that I felt fantastic after that. I think that, but the Parkinson's spin was what made me feel great. And after those classes, one program that I'm also doing that I really love is the Sing Loud. You were mentioning a choir. That is out of a hospital on Long Island, Southampton Hospital, and through a university down there. And there's about 80 or 90% participants, and they have a trained vocalist who gets on, who leads us through singing exercises. One thing I really miss is singing, because I sang in a contemporary folk choir in our church for years and years and years. And I also noticed for the last 3 or 4 years, my voice was getting worse and worse, and I couldn't figure out why until the Parkinson's diagnosis came through. I don't know that it helps that much. It's fun. That is a really fun class.
Have you gone to any support groups? Do you think talking about the disease has helped you in any way?
I know there's a support group. I think it meets in Milford, and I get their emails. I get the newsletters from Michael J. Fox. I get the newsletters from the APDA, American Parkinson's Disease Association. So I get those, but the only support group that I haven't taken advantage of any support groups except for the people that I biked with.